All right, all right, all right. What's up, guys? Let me know in the chat if you have got me, if you're seeing me here. We'll make sure that everything is set up and streaming properly here. And then we will jump in here. I see a bunch of comments already. Let me see if I can find this for myself. Let me know if you guys are hearing me. Type in the chat. Sometimes we have tech issues, so let's make sure we're good to go here. I'm going to try and load it up on my browser to... All right, there come the comments. Little delay. Awesome. So it appears we are live. All right. Cool. What's up? Robin, Morton, Silvio. I'm going to catch up on the chat comments you guys are saying. Talking about auras, where you're from. Yeah, type in where you're from, where you're watching from here. Introduce yourself. Brent's favorite songs, Disenchant, Momenta, or The Demoness. Awesome, guys. So anyone here already get the auras course? Type it in the chat box. What we're doing here today is, like I've said, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more info on the auras course. So I'm going to take you guys behind the scenes, show you what is actually included, which is basically like I'll give you like a demo of the whole course and what you get as a member, show you what's in there, what's unique about the lessons. And then after that, we'll take some questions. I'll answer some of the most common questions. And basically, like whenever I release a course or promote a new course, I get kind of similar questions. And so rather than what I usually do, which is send out a big long email with like answers to common questions, I'm jumping on here live to answer some of those on video, and then also just hang out with you guys and take some questions in real time. So Brent says, I already got the course. I've been mixing it for a while now. That's awesome. All right, we got people from Norway, Houston, Netherlands, Nashville. Jeremiah's also got it. Frederick said, I didn't get it, but are you going to put it up in the members area? I'm not sure what you mean by that, dude. Well, thanks for hanging out, guys. I think I'll jump into some of the stuff I had planned. I don't have like a massive presentation for you planned here. It's really just mostly Q&A and to show you guys behind the scenes of the course. So I'm just going to grab some water. Now, here's the thing that I guess if there's one big idea I want to get across in this live stream today, it's this, and that's that just one insight can upgrade your mixes forever. One insight can upgrade your mixes forever. Who knows what I mean here? Type it in the chat box. Who knows what I mean when I say one insight can upgrade your mixes forever? Necrodogs, I see your comment that you're not buying stuff, you're broke. These comments are a little more interesting to me than you would think. I'm going to touch on this a little bit later. But let me know if you know what I mean. One insight can change your mixes forever. I've got some examples, but I want to see if you guys know what I mean. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a delay. Okay, Roloff says true. Frederick, yes. Lawrence, true. KGTV, totally agree with you. So you guys have had these experiences before where these kind of single insights just make a huge difference. Well, I've had those same experiences too. It happens to me all the time still. And let me give you some examples. So you guys all remember the Paramore snare drum, right? This friggin' snare drum sound like took the engineering world by storm a number of years ago. And I was right in the middle of that. So I heard the snare on this record, and it was like, me, along with probably every other mixer out there, it was like, I need to get that snare sound. How did he get that snare sound? And we're trying to mimic that, right? And we're trying to like basically reverse engineer David Benth's snare on the Paramore record. It was really kind of like, it was one of the first records that I heard where the snare really like defined the record, and like people really noticed it. I mean, of course, there've been other mixes that were like, good mixes and the drum sounded good or whatever, but this one was like the snare just jumped right out of it in the best possible way. And I have to admit, somewhat ashamedly, that I had taken one of the songs that starts with the big snare hit, and I was like trying to cut it out and isolate it so that I could like layer it in under my drums to get my snares to sound good. Now, I did not use that snare in any of my mixes ever, but I was like trying to I think I was desperate. I was just like, I gotta like just take this sample and use it. And like I said, I never got it to actually work. But basically, as I was doing that, I had the mix open up in Pro Tools, and I was zooming in on that one snare hit. And I remember zooming in and like making it really tall, and I could see that the waveform just like, it was like totally clipped. It was just like, a normal snare transient, it like goes up like this. It's like a nice peak like that. But this one was like, it went up and then it was just like straight across and then down. And it was like significantly clipped. Like it was straight across for a long time. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? And I looked at the whole rest of the mix, and like every time the snare hit, it was like that. But nothing else was clipping. It was just that. And so it didn't sound distorted or anything. So I was like, man, that's kind of strange. I've never noticed that before. So I went back to my own mixes and some of my own drum samples that I was working on, and I started searching for ways to clip and maybe distort my snare drum. And I ended up pulling up just this stock distortion plugin in Pro Tools called Lo-Fi, and it has a little distortion knob, and I just turned it up a little bit, and it was like, oh my goodness. All of a sudden my snare was like twice as loud in the mix, but it wasn't jumping out in the meters. It was like sitting in. The meters were staying more consistent. I wasn't having to have these huge spikes for the snare to cut through. Yet it was punchier, louder, more impact. And it was like that light bulb moment where I was like, wow, I can finally get my snare to cut through the way I want. And I can get my snare to be loud without having to push it all the way up above the rest of the mix, which makes, my stereo mix with all these transients that just get squashed in mastering and then you lose it all anyway. I actually found a solution to doing that. And I got that insight from literally just looking at this track. And I'm not kidding you when I say that one moment that I discovered that, it completely changed my mixes forever, because that's how I've been mixing snares like forever since then. So one more story. There's an engineer and producer named Andreas Magnusson. You might have heard his work if you've listened to a lot of Tooth and Nail Solid State Records bands like Oh Sleeper, Haste the Day. He also did the Scarlet albums. He was in that band. And back in the day when I was on the Gear Sluts forum, I used to like chat with him on private messages, and he was super generous, answered a lot of my questions on private messages. And there are a million insights I could pull out of that just from like messages going back and forth that, he told me about his approach. But at one occasion, he sent me the multi-tracks for one of the songs he had worked on. And I opened up this session, and I was looking through and like soloing all the different tracks, and I soloed the vocals, and I was listening through, and it was like, heavy scream vocals. And I noticed that like they were really dry for the most part, but after almost every line, like at the end of every line, all this like reverb and delay tail would kick in. And then it would go away, and the next line would come, and it would be like really dry again. And so again, that was like another light bulb moment where I was like, oh, because I had been trying to walk that line between, you want to have the ambience, the delay, reverb to help your vocal like really sit and mesh in the mix really well. But if you have too much of that always going on, it clouds over the whole mix. It pushes the vocals back. It sounds kind of amateur. And I was kind of trying to find that balance. And then I realized it's like, oh, the key is just not having it static. And I noticed that almost in every line, like I said, it was just like the reverb tail and the delay tail would come up at the end and then go away for the bulk of the verse. And so I started doing that in my mixes, and that's become a staple of how I mix heavy vocals, again, for the next 10 years. And it's a strategy that I still use and that you've probably seen in my courses and that you will see in this Auras course too. It's like just strategically using those longer reverbs and delays, but then getting rid of them so that the vocal is a little more dry and upfront when it needs to be, rather than what a lot of kind of newbie mixers do is they just like set their delay and effects levels at a certain point and just leave it for the entire mix. So those are two different examples of single insights, really these like things that happen in a moment that you either observe or you just kind of stumble across by accident, and it just completely changes your mixes forever. So this stuff can be really, really powerful. I mean, I remember one more back in the day, guys, before there was online courses and like YouTube videos about mixing. The only way to get this was like the first person to come out with a course was Charles Dye, and it was Mix It Like a Record was the course, and it was a DVD, and you had to like pay online and like get a DVD in the mail. I remember being like, man, this seems so sketchy, like just paying like on some ghetto website and waiting for a DVD to show up in the mail. But I did it, and I watched that DVD like multiple times. And man, I'd never thought of automation that way before, like in a way that it's like something that you do extensively on a mix. And he showed that in this course. And it, again, completely changed how I mix forever, because I had viewed automation as like a headache. Automation was like, I would try to do everything I could to not have to automate, because that would mean I'd have to like go in with my mouse and like draw on these little lines, and then if I did that, then I'd have to do that for everything, because then I can't just change the faders without, having it just go back to where I drew the automation. And so I was like, I always tried to avoid it. And then I saw him say things like, making the hi-hat brighter with automating EQ from the intro of the song up until the last chorus, and the EQ just gradually got brighter and brighter and brighter, so that the song just sounded more and more intense and energetic as it went along. And that just blew my mind. And now, again, if you've seen any of my courses and what you'll see inside this course, just heavy, heavy, heavy automation. In fact, I think that is like maybe the thing that separates like an amateur mix from a pro one at this point. So those are just three different examples of how one insight can change everything forever. And I know a few of you guys have commented that you know what I mean about that. And so, that kind of leads me to, why did I create this course? Like, why did I create this new course with this Auras album, this Auras song? And I mean, it's a question I had to ask myself. Like, do I really want to do this? Because I've already got courses like Hardcore Mixing, and I've done some other courses like Mix Vault, Mix Mentor, some other one-off courses like Gold Standard Mixing. And those are packed with insights already. And even though they were created years ago, people are still buying them to this day, and they're still emailing me with amazing results for them. So I had to think in my head, like, do I need to create a new one? Do people need more of this? And then I realized, like, well, wait a second. If one insight can change everything, then can you ever really have enough insights? I mean, it's kind of like if I'm reading like a business book right now, and it's like if I read maybe one or two business books and got like a couple insights, then it's like, okay, I'm good. I'm not going to read any more business books from now on. It's like, no, of course not. If anything, it just increases my hunger. I want more insights. Okay, once you get that one hit of like something that really changes everything for you, you want more and more and more of that. Am I right? So that's one reason. It's just like, I don't think you can really ever have enough insights. Even if you're already at a pretty high level, there could be something in this course or another course that like just kind of shakes up and kind of gives you like a freshness and a fresh approach to try, and like just some way to evolve. And that kind of leads to my second reason I created this, is like, just like you guys are evolving as mixers and getting better and better and trying new things, so am I. I'm also evolving. And while what you'll see, like the workflow, the mindset, like all the stuff, the way I approach the mix is like the same as what you've seen in other courses. However, times change, tools change. The DAW has evolved, plugins have evolved, so there's new plugins that I'm trying now. For example, in Hardcore Mixing, when I made it, I was using this thing called Heat in Pro Tools, and then I went to a native setup, and then I couldn't use Heat anymore, and so I had to retool how I use saturation and stuff in the mix. And I've also switched out some mix bus processing that I use, and just trying different plugins and new tools that are coming out. And trust me, I don't really try 95% of new plugins that come out these days. It's really just something that if I hear about it a lot, or if it looks really unique and interesting to me, then I'll try it out. And there's a few of those in this course. So, just evolving strategies, and then also just different material, right? So you can see my same workflow and you'll see a lot of the same tools and strategies being used, but there's just small differences in the approach based on the source material that's there. And look, even just by downloading the multi-tracks, exploring them yourself, listening to them yourself, comparing that to the final mix, just like I did with the Sleeper tracks, like you can get huge insights just from that without even watching videos. So that alone, I think, is worth the money. But of course, you get the whole mix walkthrough at the same time. And lastly, I wanted to make this like a no-brainer price. So for everyone who's like been subscribed to my YouTube channel and they never purchase any of my courses, which are normally priced in like the $300 to $500 range, like I wanted to price this at a point where it's like, man, this record just came out. There's momentum. People are excited about it. I just want as many people as possible to get it. And so that's why I priced it at what I believe is really a no-brainer price at $97. And it's going up after tomorrow at midnight, but I've had it available for a few weeks at $97. And to me, it's like, it's an absolute no-brainer. Like basically, if you ever plan to do any work for clients or you're already doing work for clients, the ROI is almost guaranteed. I mean, think about it. If you spend $100 and a year down the road, you're able to get your first clients, maybe it's just some local bands that you're friends with, and they're paying you like $30 a song to mix their stuff, or $50 a song to record and mix. At $50 a song, man, you need to record 2 songs, and you've recouped your investment, and then now you're like everything on top of that is gravy, right? So at this price, it's like an ROI is like pretty much guaranteed. And I'm going to hit, I'm going to take you back behind the scenes of the course in a minute here. But one more thing, someone commented, and I'm not trying to pick on you because I think you illustrate a much broader mindset that exists out there. So forgive me for using that as a jump off point. But I think something exists in the world of musicians, producers, and it's what I call the broke artist mentality. So the broke artist mentality is basically like we're kind of indoctrinated growing up that we have like 2 choices. It's like go in the corporate world and just do a lame job that you hate and do well financially, or choose to follow your passions as an artist and, maybe you'll be happier, but you're never going to succeed financially. You just always be scraping by. And I used to have this mentality too. And I used to think I had to make this choice between like doing what I loved and actually getting paid. And what do you think that does? Like that's a self-fulfilling mindset, because if you think that those are the rules, that if you choose your passion in art, that it's wrong to get paid and that you're a sellout for some reason, if you ask for more money or you ask to be paid well, or you actually put boundaries up around your services, that makes you a sellout and that you're just in it for the money and not, a true artist. What do you think that does internally to your mind? It's like you're literally going to push clients and you're going to push opportunities and you're going to push money away from you because of this belief that you have. Now, here's the reason why and I'm saying this because literally anyone who's been through my stuff and decides not to buy the course, I asked them, why didn't you buy this course? They said 99% of them say, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. Now, I'm all for good financial stewardship. Sometimes I have to make that choice too and say like, this is not the right time. I don't have the money for this. However, let me put it this way. For a lot of you guys who say you can't afford to invest in a training course right now, how many of you guys, if your phone fell in the toilet after this call, that by the end of the day, you would have a brand new phone? Now, you can type in the chat if you're like, oh, shoot, that's me. But regardless of, whether you go along with me in the chat or not, I would probably put money down on the fact that 90 to 98% of you guys here, and hey, myself included, if my phone stopped working today, I'd be at the store within a couple hours and I'd be walking out with a new phone. And I'm kind of an Apple nerd, so I wouldn't get any phone. I would get an iPhone, and I'd probably be walking out having spent like $1,000. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys would be there too. Or let's put it this way: if your hard drive crashed or your computer crashed, again, within a day, you'd probably have a new machine, right? So this is not. Oftentimes, it's like, yes, sometimes money is the problem, but oftentimes it's a question of priorities. And the phone example is really powerful, I think, because it's like, man, we're so addicted to distraction and entertainment and the quick chemical hit that we get from using our phones. We're so addicted to that we prioritize that above other things. And look, I use a phone. I'm trying to I've literally deleted so many apps and social media apps off it because I'm trying to use it less. But anyway, it's like, it's not like it's all evil and bad, but it's like, you got to ask yourself, man, am I addicted to this distraction more than I'm addicted to growing and improving and getting better? So it's just kind of a question and some illustrations that I want to leave you with, and something to think about, because I think that we hold ourselves back a lot. We hold ourselves back a lot with having this mentality, or just automatically assuming it, and rather than asking good questions, you just make broad statements like, oh, I can't afford it, rather than how can I afford it? Because those are two completely different mindsets. Okay, I can't afford it says, okay, cool video, cool live stream, I'm going to go play Angry Birds now. And then the better question would be, how can I afford it? And then your brain goes to work, right? It's like, well, maybe I could drive Uber on the weekends. I could probably make $100 in a night, easy. Or, maybe I could sell something on Kijiji. Maybe this piece of music gear that I haven't touched in 3 years, I could just sell that and pay for it. All of a sudden these ideas come, and it actually becomes a lot easier than you really think. So I just want to encourage you guys to ask better questions. And it's not about whether you buy this course or not. It's really just like, I'm trying to empower you guys, because I really hate seeing people holding themselves back for this broke mentality that just like self-perpetuates and just keeps you broke, right? And the way to earn more is to be more valuable, and the way to be more valuable is to get better at stuff. So I could rant about that more for sure, but let me take you behind the scenes of the course. So when you buy the Auras course and you join and you have your member account there, let me share my screen. Okay, you guys should see this now. So here's what you get. So I'm going to just show you and kind of do a brief outline of each lesson. So right away you see like the core lessons here, and then we've got the bonus lessons, and then we've got an additional, this is almost like an entire additional drum course here, and Roloff's in the house. He made it. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So let's see. So let's go to start here. So you log in, you go start here, welcome to the course. And on this page, basically just gives you some simple instructions. And then we've got the multi-tracks. So you get the multi-tracks for the song Momenta. And, you can load this up. Obviously, they're just WAV files, so they go into any DAW, so you don't have to worry about that. So there's the multi-track download. Next, we go into the intro and the session overview. So I think you guys might be able to hear this if I play it. So once we get into the explanation here, mix with you over the course of these videos, plugins and channels and all of that, as you go through the subsequent videos. So basically this video, the session overview, it just outlines exactly how I've set up this session in terms of routing. So you can see how I've organized and grouped my tracks, and it's very simple. And I do this the same way on every mix so that I can mix quickly. So you'll see like, here are my drum tracks, here are my drum reverbs, here are my buses, here's how everything's routed, and then the effects show up at the end, and here's all the plugins that I've brought in from my effects template and stuff like that, so that you really have a grasp of like, as you're watching the rest of the videos, you can see, sorry, I'm just reading the comments here. There's some funny stuff. You can not be confused, right? So if you see something later in the videos, you're like, wait, how was that audio going there? How was this routed? Well, this video settles all of that. Now, even better is that we've got the templates. Okay, so prior to this course, the only way to get any of my mix templates was in Hardcore Mixing, which is 3 times the price. Well, I've actually given you the template, the mixing template that I used for all the songs on this record, and you can download it here in different formats. So far, we've got Pro Tools, Logic, and Reaper formats, and then we're working on getting this converted for Cubase and Studio One and maybe some other DAWs as well. So quick side note, I'm just reading this comment about someone's waiting to buy this. He's been waiting 2 months to get paid from a side job. again, this plays, I'm not saying this is the case for you, man, but this plays into this whole broke artist mentality, right? I remember being there and being like waiting months and months for people to pay you. But man, imagine being on the other side. Would you expect another business to be okay with waiting 2 months for you to pay them for a service that they already gave? Like, for some reason, we put up with this as musicians and producers, and it's like, man, you got to treat yourself as legit if you want others to treat you as legit. So, anyways, another side rant. Okay, so you get the session overview. This kind of gives you a lot of routing stuff, and then also the templates that you can load up in your own DAW. The template basically has all the routing already set up, has all the buses and aux returns already set up, and it has all the plugins loaded up here with the same settings. So in most cases, there are a few stock Pro Tools plugins that obviously you won't see in your DAW if you're using Logic or whatever, but we substituted other plugins for those. So that's the intro and overview, and now we get into really the meat of it. So this is the kick and snare video. All right, we're going to dive into the drum mix now and at the end. So this just dives in like I do with every track, just seeing every single plugin, every move in detail. We've had these edited nicely so that, you know, stuff is zoomed in, it's like highlighted so you can easily see what's going on here. And yeah, so that's kick and snare. And this is like some pretty meaty stuff because the dynamics in these drums are crazy. Let me see if I can find a section here. So the way I describe it, on the drum head to the kick. Listen to all these ghost notes on the snare. So, you know, I show you, you know, what I did to the live drum tracks and then also what samples I laid in and how I blended those. And this mix, I think, is a really great example of what I always shoot for in my mixes, which is like a really complementary blend of real drums and samples, right? So, you know, a lot of people, they just like, they have these nice drum tracks and they just like literally just slam samples over top of everything and the real drums are killed. Well, in this session, you'll hear the A/B of like, the natural kick on its own is not quite enough for the mix, and then the sample also is not quite enough, you know, to be in the final mix. But blended together, they actually, you know, become more than the sum of the parts, and they're perfect for the mix. So I'll show you how to make those decisions with samples, commit quickly, and then actually balance it in a way that you're getting all of the benefits of the live snare, especially all the dynamics and ghost notes and fills and everything, and then also getting the benefits of the samples too for consistency and just more punch and impact through the mix. He's got these ghost notes. And another unique thing about the snare here, I put out a YouTube video last week showing you how I heavily use the mono room track. And so that's one highlight here. But another one is something that I really rarely do is parallel snare. So I actually needed more punch, more impact out of the snare hits. And so I created a parallel snare track, which actually has some heavy compression, some distortion on it, and mixed that in as well. And that's kind of a unique approach that I haven't shown in any of my other courses. So that's kind of some highlights from the kick and snare video. I'll try to go through these a little quicker, guys, because there's a lot here. Next, there's overheads, cymbals, and toms. So you're going to see with the overheads, I wasn't able to get enough brightness out of the overheads alone. So you'll see also how I did a parallel EQ trick for the overheads so that I actually get them super, super bright, literally as bright as I could ever need them without boosting any EQ on it. So you'll see that strategy. And also with the toms, you'll see my tom splitting technique, which again, you might have seen in other courses, but for those of you who are maybe new and this is your first Hardcore Music Studio mixing course, you'll see how I split the tom tracks, don't use any tom samples because I can completely eliminate the bleed, completely control it to have nice fat toms with also like a ton of top end impact and clarity coming through the mix without all the cymbal bleed and without any obvious gate opening up and stuff like that. Let's move on. So the room and reverb and drum bus lesson. So we cover what I did with the room tracks, which you've seen a little bit of that if you can go back and watch the YouTube video, the sneak peek I posted last week. And then we've also got the reverbs. So I use the room tracks. No room reverb, but I use 2 snare reverbs, a gated verb and a longer plate. So you'll see those settings and how I dialed those in. And then you'll also see the drum buses. So I've got a normal drum bus and then a parallel compression bus. Let's see if I can find something here. You'll see kind of the different clipping and saturation that I've done on the drum bus as well. Here's an example of one of the new plugins I'm using, the Slate Virtual Mix Rack. The saturation modules in here is something that I've started using a lot. And what I do with these is I like to just crank them up all the way and then back it off to where I feel like it's adding what I want to without being too overbearing. So that's almost killing my snare too much. That's giving me the extra fatness on the drum without totally killing my snare transient. I really like what this does. It really fattens it out and crunches it down. And that's just a little clip of the parallel compression bus there. So let's move on to the bass lesson. You can see all of these sections, every instrument very in depth. The bass, I think this one might be one of the most valuable things. Look at this. Sergio said, awesome. Usually your bass videos run about 10 minutes long. So a 28-minute bass video explains your struggles with it. Good job. So yeah, this is, I think from the feedback I've gotten, even, you know, what I thought would be the sense would be that this could be a really valuable part of this course. And the reason is because I struggled a lot with dialing in the bass for this mix. Like it took me a long time. I had to come back to it multiple times, do multiple card tests, and ultimately I ended up just scrapping it and starting from scratch with the bass. So rather than just show you what I ended up with, in this video I actually show you what I tried first, why it didn't work, and then I show you what I ended up with in the end that actually did work and get the results that I wanted. So that's one of the highlights of this course, I think. Then we've got guitars, rhythms and leads, synths and effects, which again is maybe a little bit more unique than the other mixing courses I've done because the synths played a pretty big role. The band told me they wanted the synths to be very prominent in this mix. So, you know, in this case, we've got like the main guitars down a bit and the synths up, and the synths really kind of move the songs forward. So, I mean, you can already see a lot of automation here, but I really show you how some tips for choosing the spots EQ wise to let the synths cut through, because often with like heavy drums, big bass, thick distorted guitars, it's hard to get like synths and strings and pianos to like cut through a mix like that. And there are kind of some counterintuitive ways to EQ that to make that happen. So I kind of walk through that process in the synth section. Then we just dig into the vocals. So the scream vocals and the layers there and how those are processed. And the melodic vocals, which I was really happy with. They're well tracked and, you know, I tried to go for really like pristine, really polished, clean vocal sound, and then juxtapose that with like the really brutal, heavy vocals. We never had a chance to speak our mind. Really nice way. It also a effect chain that I have. See if I can find it set up here in its. So again, it's not like jumping out of the mix in a super obvious way. So explaining all the EQ and compression moves on the vocal tracks, but also all of the vocal effects that I've used as well. Then we do a mix bus overview here. Here's one of the new plugins I've been using for mix bus, which again is different from some of my other courses. It's the CLA Mixdown. Now I don't use this for every new mix that I'm doing, but it's something I'm experimenting with and ended up using it in this course. And you can see next we've got, this is just an automation intro, but we've got an automation intro plus 3 full video. I had to split the automation up into 3 different videos because it's so in depth. You can see the drum automation here, bass, guitar, and synth automation, and then the vocal automation. So this is like a huge light bulb if you're not using a lot of automation in your mixes. This is really going to be a huge eye opener for you. Gus, do you mean CPU like in terms of automation or like plugins and stuff? I never have any problems with CPU. I have like a iMac that's maybe a year or two old and mixed totally natively. And yeah, I don't have problems, man. So yeah, so that's kind of the core of the course. We go all the way up to automation, and then I talk about kind of what happens in the final car test. And then from that, it's on to the bonus stuff. So let me go back here. By the way, guys, stick around if you've got questions. I'll answer them in a few minutes. So there are 2 bonus lessons you're getting here with the course. The first one is vocal distortion. So there are 2 songs, I believe just 2 songs on the record, where I use distortion on the clean melodic vocals. So you just heard me say that I try to make them really pristine and polished, and that's the case for most of the songs on the record. However, there's a couple where that just sounded kind of out of place and the vocals just sounded too weak. And so you'll see 2 different ways that I used vocal distortion on the clean vocals in 2 different songs on this record, in this bonus video. And that's another kind of thing that stands out about this course is like, yes, you get the full walkthrough through one song, and that tells you most of what's happening on the rest of the record. But there's some unique things, and the vocal distortion is one of them that I wanted to share with you. And then the other one was the song Erode, which is track 3 on the record, and it has a couple unique things, but one of the things that sets it apart is there's a lot of clean guitars that go throughout the whole song almost as a loop. So I show you how I deal with that. And then also there's like a middle section that has like a really cool melodic breakdown that's like just instrumental, and it's all clean guitars and stuff, and the dynamics really come out. And so I show you what I did automation wise, EQ wise, and everything with the clean guitars to make that section really just sound really awesome and intriguing and interesting. And then, you know, with the automation and levels and EQ and stuff to make it sound like it comes down enough so that the ending just kicks in that much harder. So that's one of my favorite songs on the album. So I had to do a little mix walkthrough on that song there. So those are the 2 bonus lessons. Now, lastly, we've got this bonus lesson called How to Make Any Drum Kit Slam. And the full title of this is How to Make Any Drum Kit Slam, even if it was recorded with budget gear in a crappy room. Now, this lesson is actually not taught by me. It's taught by Roloff. I don't know if Roloff's still here, but he's one of my star students. He's taken most of my courses over the past couple of years. And if you're still here, Roloff, just drop a comment in here. But he came to me and asked, like, hey, could I contribute a lesson for this? And, you know, I said, that's a cool idea. Let's try it. And so I checked out what he created, and I was like, man, this is awesome, because for one thing, you guys get to learn from someone other than me, but someone who has gone through my training and then, you know, has basically evolved it into his own. And that's what each and every one of you guys is going to do. Okay. Like, I'm not under the illusion that you're going to watch these videos and literally copy my exact move all the time, verbatim. And I don't want you to do that. But what everyone is doing, hundreds, thousands of people across the world are getting these courses, and then they're, you know, substituting plugins. They're kind of tweaking their own workflow, and they're making it their own and developing their own sound. And you get to see from one of my best students who has amazing mixes, whose career is growing and growing. And he's been generous enough to share this bonus lesson and show you his drum mixing workflow for drums that he recorded in a horrible room with, I think Roloff, you can correct me, but like Behringer preamps and like all really budget mics in a rehearsal space or something. So, you know, it's kind of the opposite of like pretty nicely recorded tracks up here. Here are some total, like, typical amateur, or I guess maybe I shouldn't say amateur, but just like budget consumer level gear in a bad room. And then Roloff shows you how he takes it all the way to sounding like a really slamming, polished drum kit. And so that's really cool, because you see a lot of the same techniques and the same overall big picture approach, but he's got a different set of plugins than me, and he's got different ears than me. And so you'll see some different approaches and maybe how he's kind of used the same mindsets and the same like philosophies for mixing drums, but just gone a slightly different route to get the result. And I think that's really cool. And also, one of the big reasons I included this is because I wanted to like give you guys hope. That's like, man, this is someone who was maybe in the same position as you 2-3 years ago, and now look what he's capable of, and now he's teaching others. So this might be possible for you as well. So that's a bonus lesson that's included here in this course, which is really cool and unique. Yeah, Roloff saying we had about 4 hours to set up, sound check, and record and break down. Yeah, so, you know, very quick and dirty. Just, again, totally different material. And I think we got the multi-tracks in there too, do we? Yes, we got the file downloads too. So those are another set of tracks that you can practice mixing. So guys, that's an overall walkthrough of the course. So if you guys have questions specifically relating to this Aura's Mix course, if I didn't cover something that you wanted to know about this course, I'm going to prioritize those questions. And also, if there's something about this Aura's Mix, if you've listened to the record and you have questions about it, I'll try to kind of answer that or maybe point to where it is in the course and stuff like that. So I'll take questions. You guys can type it in the chat box for me. And while I wait for those, I'll answer some of the common questions that I get. And maybe some of you are wondering, or maybe you've wondered before, is like, how much content is this? I've got this question a number of times by email. Hey, Jordan, how long is the course? Now, here's the thing. If you're asking that question, I can imagine that it's because you're trying to basically ask yourself, is this worth the money for what I'm getting? And you're weighing that based on how many hours of video there is. Now, I have to answer this question by just saying, who cares? Who cares how long it is? Let me put it this way. Let's say I put out a course and it was 10 hours of video. So there's a 10-hour course and the end result was that your mixes would be 50% better. That's pretty good. So 10 hours, 50% improvement. Now, what if I had this revolutionary breakthrough where I could actually condense all of that information, tell it to you in 5 minutes, and you would have the same result of 50% improvement in your mix? And let me ask you, which one of those versions is more valuable? The 10-hour version or the 5-minute version? I think it's easy to see. I don't have to tell you that the 5-minute version is a lot more valuable because I've just saved you all that time. All right. So listen, I'm not giving that example because the course is small. It's not. You just saw an overview of all the videos. I think it's between 4 and 5 hours in total, not including the bonuses. So it's in depth. So I'm not saying that to kind of say it's really short and don't worry about it. I'm saying that because it's like that shouldn't be a question. The question should be like, what result is this going to get me? Is this going to get me better mixes? And I guarantee that it does. And I back that up because if it doesn't, you can email me for a refund in 30 days. And so that's the result that you should care about. In fact, if you're struggling with one thing, let's say you're just really struggling with getting the cymbals right in your mix. And you're like, man, I wonder if something's going to help me with the cymbals here. Buy this course, go to that video, watch only that video, watch nothing else until you need it. But if that one thing helps improve your mixes and solves that cymbal problem, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it because now that affects everything going forward for years and decades. So I just want to offer you those kind of shifts in thinking so that you're no longer evaluating stuff on content. Because to me, when I see courses that are like 50 hours or something, it's like, I don't want that. Who has 50 hours? So anyways, that's kind of the answer to the question of how much content. And I told you how long it is, but again, it doesn't matter. Like, don't weigh it on that. Weigh it based on the results. In fact, I had one person who took my tracking course email and he said, you know what, Jordan, I almost asked for a refund because I bought this course and I've bought other courses. And in this other course, I got way more videos because they covered every possible scenario and all these different mics and everything. But yours didn't cover as much and it wasn't as many hours of video. So I was going to ask for a refund, but then I didn't because within the first month, I paid back my investment by getting new clients because my work improved. And I had to smile at that because it's a perfect example of someone who was like wrestling with that debate between like, you know, this price is higher, but it has less content. This price is lower and it has more videos. But I'm glad in the end he realized that like, wait a second, I got this incredible result and got clients that paid for that course in less than a month. And so those are the results that you need to measure by. Okay, measure by results. Okay, let me take some questions here. Okay, KGTV is asking, how long do you think until the Studio One template is out? Aiming to have those out like within the next week or two. And basically, maybe you can help me out with that. But how we do that is I just get students who use those other DAWs to go through the course and literally mimic and exactly copy the template that they see in the videos. And then we proof check that, make sure it's accurate, and then we push that out to members. And I'm offering payment or mix feedback and advice in exchange for that. So maybe there's some of you guys here who can help me with creating that template and get paid for it. And in that way, even faster recoup the investment. So we're still waiting on a couple templates there, but should be only a couple weeks. All right, Brody's asking, still like using CLA 3i on rhythm guitars? Yes, yep, you'll see that in this course. Okay, let's see. Any other questions here? All right, Mitch say, even the source tracks alone make the course worth it. It taught me the importance of good source tracks. Yeah, I kind of mentioned that at the top of this stream, that like even just listening to multi-tracks alone, you can get massive insights. That's how I made tons of breakthroughs back in the day. So thank you for sharing that. Let me see. Okay, another question. Is this good for new customers or existing? Like, is this for people who've already taken my other courses or for new members? And the answer is both. And I specifically created this course for that. So I think I tried to land more towards being very comprehensive. You saw it includes the templates. So previous to this course, the only place to get the templates is the hardcore mixing course, which again is 3 times the price. You can get the mixing template, which is very much the same as that one, in this course here for a fraction of the price. And I also explain the routing, the workflow in video 1 of this course, which in other like kind of next level mixing courses that I've done, it kind of assumes you've taken hardcore mixing. So I don't touch on the workflow and the organization and templates. I just kind of go right into kind of the new unique mixing stuff. But in this course, I made sure to cover all of that so that whether you're someone who's been through the other courses or if you're brand new, you're still going to get that basic foundational knowledge there too. And yeah, if you're brand new, this is a great introduction to my workflow. And then also, if you're an existing customer who's been through the other courses, again, it's like, is one insight worth it at this price? I think it's an absolute no-brainer. And again, I'm pretty sure that even if you've been through all of my stuff, you're going to get insights. Actually, I think we have a quote here. Yeah, Michael said, I have all of your lessons and always have learned more and more. You helped me use some of the Slate products that I've been struggling with. Thank you again. So there have been multiple people who have purchased every single one of my courses who are still saying that they got a lot out of this one. So is it for new people or current members? It's going to be good for both. Okay. Brandon, yes, lots of other CLA plugins. So the 3A, the CLA 76, the Mixdown plugin that you saw. Let me see, is there any other ones? I don't think so. I'll let you know. Pretty sure it's just those ones. Brent, funny you should ask. He's asking, do you have any tips for natural sounding pitch correction? The Oris tracks are already edited, but I'd like to keep it as natural as possible. Yeah, so actually, I say we because I outsourced the vocal editing on this record. But I think I edited the vocals for one song, I think the 10th track, Abyss. But then I hired, again, one of my past students, Dan, paid him to tune all the clean vocals because they needed that done. So what's really cool is that with my hardcore editing course, I already have a course that shows you how to edit, tune vocals and make them sound really natural, make it be not obvious at all. And I'm currently working on expanding that and adding new vocal tuning lessons with these tracks. So you actually get to see the raw tracks that they sent and then how they were tuned. And it's going to be pretty cool because, there's some grit to a lot of the singing here, and that can be hard to tune. So you'll see that. So that's just kind of like a little tease of something that's an update that's coming soon. But yes, I do already have those lessons in hardcore editing. Okay, Frederico, is it going to be 100 forever or just this week? Yeah, so after tomorrow at midnight, the price is going up by $50. So right now it's $97. And after tomorrow night, so you've got a day and a half left, it's going to go up to $150, and we'll see how long we keep it there. But yeah, you've got about another day and a half to get it at $97. All right, thank you for those of you who are willing to help with the templates. There's details about how to help with that in the course. All right, Sack Masher, do you ever mix hybrid? No, I don't use any outboard gear in my mixes. I don't want the hassle of not being able to recall and stuff or having to print stuff down. I've been in the box for many, many, many years. What to use the distressor for on the drums? Well, you'll have to buy the course and see. No, I'm just kidding. The distressor, do you mean the plugin? Because I have the hardware unit too that I haven't used in years. It's hard to part with it because I love it. But the distressor plugin, I used it on, I believe, the snare. I think the snare sample to add a little bit more attack, and I might have used it somewhere else, maybe on the parallel snare to crush it. Those are the two spots I used it on this mix. Okay, KGTV, any easy way to download the videos to iPhone? Well, the site here is completely mobile responsive, so basically you can log in from anywhere from your iPhone and you can watch the videos there, so super easy. You can access it anywhere, anytime, lifetime access. Currently, the videos are not downloadable. That may change in the future, but for now, they're just available in the members area. Okay, guys. Oh, there's more questions here. Hey, Jordan, do you keep loudness in mind while mixing, or do you let the mastering engineer handle that? Okay, so yeah, you'll see again a full walkthrough of basically what I do. Like inside this course, I'm multiple times at the beginning and then middle and end of the mix, I'm kind of jumping over to the mix bus and showing you what I'm doing for loudness and when that stuff is getting engaged and how far I push it. Short answer would be I do a tiny bit, and I'm getting the loudness up to about, I think about minus 12, minus 13 dB RMS in the mix, and that's kind of what I'm mixing at, because I want to hear basically a fairly accurate representation of what's going to happen after mastering. And then when I send it off to mastering, I back it off a little bit to give them a bit more headroom. But when I send it to the band for review, I crank it up more so it's a little closer to a finished mastered record. So again, you'll see kind of exactly how and when I do that, because I don't mix like that from the get-go. I kind of put it in moderately partway through and then more aggressively towards the end. So yeah, we definitely touch on that inside the course here, and then I let a mastering engineer who's really good at that handle that in the end. Yeah, here's a good question. How do I purchase? I realized that I didn't include the link, but I did do this. So you're going to go to hardcoremusicstudio.com/binary. Let me see if I can type that in the comments for you. There we go. Hopefully that link works. So this is where you're going to go to purchase the course. You get instant access when you buy. And again, the price is going up after tomorrow. So just to give you guys some proof that this stuff is actually working for people, here's some early feedback I've got. So I actually pre-sold this at this price starting about 3-4 weeks ago, and gave some of the people who pre-ordered early access about 2 weeks ago. So here's some of the early feedback from actual members. So Nick said, great course. I've gathered a lot of really valuable knowledge, especially when it came to the balance between different tracks, mixing vocals, and using automation. From just this course alone, I'm already more confident in my mixing and workflow than I was before. Definitely recommend. So that's from Nick. We've also got Carl, who said, clear and concise, proper explanation of what and why. Simply by replicating some of the techniques and moves made in the vids, one's own mixes start to come alive, and the mix move makes sense. And it will for sure kickstart the amateur and propel you forward. A little bit more proof. John said it's amazing. Jordan's courses has helped me navigate through all the bad information out there and get right to using what works. Again, just like skip the trial and error, skip the noise, stuff that doesn't actually make your work sound pro. Get into the mix of a pro record and just focus on that, and you'll get light years ahead way faster. 2 more for you. Akash said, so many aha moments. The approach toward the mix is so simple and genuine. I've already started implementing a few of his techniques, and boom, I am getting that extra polish and depth in my mix. One more, guys. I showed this one already, but this is someone who has already purchased the courses and got a lot more out of this one as well. So hardcoremusicstudio.com/binary. Let me actually go there right now. And just to recap the offer for you. Okay, here we go. So when you go to hardcoremusicstudio.com/binary, here's the page you get. All right, so let's recap what you're getting here. So you get a full mix walkthrough showing every single track and mix decision, and a detailed video walkthrough for the song Momenta. It's track 1 off their record. You get the multi-track download for that song. You get the Binary Garden mix template for all major DAWs. And the reason I'm calling it the Binary Garden mix template and not just the Momenta mix template is because basically after mixing that song, I use the same template as a starting point for every other song. So this template is like really inclusive of kind of what I did on the whole record. There's a couple differences for different songs that you see in the bonus videos, but for the most part, this is the mix template for the entire record. You get a bonus mix walkthrough, like I just said, for the song Erode, and then also another one showing you how I used vocal distortion to enhance specific vibes of some of the songs. Plus these pre-order bonuses. The first one, which I haven't mentioned yet, throwing an entire other course called Mix Rehab. And this is where I took a song that I recorded like 10 years ago. So kind of amateur source tracks, like not that well recorded, and then remix the song in real time on the video to show you how I take kind of an amateur, like mediocre mix, use those same tracks and come out with a polished label quality mix. So you get free access to that. That's with the pre-order only. So again, not only does the price go up after midnight tomorrow, these go away. And the second one is the exclusive lesson from Roloff, who is a Hardcore Music Studio student. And that's the lesson on how to make any drum kit slam, even if it was recorded with budget gear in a lousy room. So you can see the countdown here. We are under 24 hours. Wait a second, that doesn't make sense. I must have had the timer set up wrong here, but it is midnight tomorrow night. So you've got a day and a little bit before that timer runs out, and the price is going up to $147. If you want more proof of whether this stuff actually works, we've got lots of it here. So you can go to that page, read some of that, listen to the record. I embedded it right here for you, and also get a little preview of what's inside the mix. And when you click join here, you go to the checkout page, and just takes 30 seconds, and you can join the course immediately. So that's it, guys. That is the Binary Garden course. And I'm going to wrap up this session in a minute here. Let's see. KGTV says, going to buy it and watch it at work tonight, and excited to dive into it. Awesome, dude. Yeah, I hope this answered your questions, guys, and showed you kind of exactly what's inside this course, what you can expect to learn. Brent saying, let's see. I've noticed a lot of vocal tracks are recorded with some compression going in. Thinking about buying an $80 Behringer interface. Do you recommend this choice? I see that Roloff already said in that case you're better off compressing with plugins. I totally agree. I think recording vocals with compression on the way in is like definitely the way to go. However, if you cannot get a good vocal compressor, and to me the gold standard is like the distressor, it's like you almost can't screw it up, and it just does a great job. But even with like when I'm tracking with the distressor, I'm doing like 12 to 16 dB of gain reduction, and it sounds transparent. It sounds amazing. But you've got to have a high quality compressor if you're going to record on the way in and commit to that. I would not buy a cheap one to do that. Like Roloff said, you'd be better off just leaving lots of headroom so you don't clip on the way in, and then processing it with the plugin distressor from Slate or one of the other emulations. In fact, when I get sent tracks to mix that have clearly not been tracked with compression on the vocals, I usually, in the past, I used to run it out through my distressor and record it back in to get the same result. But I tried the Slate emulation, and it literally sounds exactly what I would expect from the distressor. So now I just use that, and I just put that plugin first in the chain, compress it as if the same way that I would if I was tracking it, and then I continue on going from there. So hopefully that answers your question, Brent. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to sign off here. If you're just catching the end of this or whatever, this will be up for replay very soon. And just a reminder, you've got about 24 and a bit hours. What's 24? and 9:33. As of this moment, you got 33 hours to save $50 on this course. It's $97 right now. You get access to everything I outlined here. And after midnight tomorrow night, so as of Saturday onwards, it's going to be up to $147. So again, I think this is a no-brainer price. I've priced it that way on purpose. I want as many people as possible to get in here, and we can all help each other. The more people are in this community, you get feedback from everyone. As you see, you're already getting a lesson from one of our best students here. So very excited to welcome you guys all in. And thanks for hanging out with me on this live stream. And we will talk soon. Later.